Thank you, Gareth. It's always hard to follow your introductions. I want to start with a poem about communication, because one of the things I really love about Mueum are these fractured kind of ludic conversations that happen between colleagues down the corridors of the unnamed museum. And you've probably noticed the phrase crept into our language over the past 3 or 4 years, when people started to ask, can you talk to that? Can you speak to that? So this is called Can You Talk to That? Overnight, the abstract became the object, a mischief of rhetoric that removed the person from the dialectic. Can you talk to that? Not what do you think, or can I have your view, or what do you know, but can you talk to that? What fractal was detached? What was the that wanted talking to? Heel boy, sit, get back, talk now, talk to make it sit. The question has fleas, lice, ticks. Can you think of that? Can you thought of that? Can you take of that? Can you talk? Can you talk to? Can you talk to that?
Good one.
I want to celebrate Stephen's contribution to international poetry, as well as his brilliance as a writer. Steve runs the European Poetry Festival. One thing he does really well is he doesn't provide food for the poets, because that's when things start going really badly wrong, as I've found in various international poetry festivals. So I'm going to dedicate this to Steve, and it introduces some saint-like poets, and I feel like I'm adding these to Ian Sinclair's brilliant Catacombs Saints, which came out recently from Tangerine Press. The International Poetry Festival. It's the Finn's 4th day of soup, and his skin is glistening. His badge reads, Saint of Perpetual Silence. The Belgian is the saint of diplomatic pralines. She's on an eternal quest for desserts that never come. The Slovak is the saint of better times. She talks of her happy childhood under communism and the COD surveillance of COVID. She orders for the vegans as the chef racks up camemberts like UFOs in Area 51. The German explains that there is no performance, only a disembodied voice in text. He is the saint of hauntology. The Spaniard, the saint of shapeshifters, speaks. Tonight he says, I'm going to cut so many new shapes from the language, there will be no dough left for anyone else. The Amsterdamer sighs. No one will believe her when she says the point of the human voice is the DNA of the soul. She is the saint of unrealised possibilities. The Croat is the saint of future happenings. He's handwriting flyers for all the poets who are yet to visit his festival. Easy now, the Serb says, slicing into the white smelt of cheese. Let's get through this first. The French poet agrees, looking towards the translators, hunched over a desk. Is this the Nuremberg trials? The American asks. At the festival's final dinner, the Finn has taped up his mouth. The English poet dusts down his suit, refusing to speak. The Slovak carries a dumpling on a piece of string. The Belgian rubs at a chocolate moustache. The German offers a rosary to his shadow. The Spaniard is making an artwork from ring donuts. The Serb and the Croat are standing each other's shots. The Hungarian has taped 2 dogs together in the position they made famous. The French poet has a finger on the elevator, hoping to leave the ground. The American is smiling as the waiter brings the soups. The saint of unrealised possibilities has fallen asleep. Now, says the English poet, let me tell you what I'm the saint of. And one thing I should say is Steve always gives his poets a teddy bear as their token of gratitude. So long may that go. As we approach the Day of the Dead, I want to read a poem which kind of looks into that future. The Doppelganger. There's nothing more symmetrical than a doppelganger, not even his interior. He sits facing inwards like a haunted mirror. A man who is nothing but vapour has no cause to vape. My life has had twins, the doppelganger thinks, and my thoughts the crew of the Medusa. The doppelganger learns from the snake, lies down next to himself to measure himself for the eating. I sometimes feel I'm being watched, he says, like two vats of pasteurised milk teaching each other how to sour, or like two priests fighting over the same Bible. If there were two Deuteronomies, it might be okay, but there is only one flood, and the doppelganger always fills twice, one side for the light, the other for the absorption of light. He has a waterline through his corpus like a badly orientated banknote. Sometimes he's worried that he's forged himself. When the doppelganger gets into bed, he tells himself to make space. When he dreams, he ricochets his monsters from the amygdala to the cortex. This is how it feels to have twice as much of everything and be half as full as anyone. The doppelganger looks through the hospital glass at himself under the knife, his organs glistening like a city of glycerine. You're doing okay, he says. How about me? I'm going to read a short one about a recent rupture at the head of state which sent a few trickles through poetry at a local level. It's called Poetry and Money, and it begins with a line that Karl Marx actually said about John Milton. And I'm sure in the recent crackle of news and everything, some of you saw the news piece where the keeper of the Queen's bees had to explain to the bees that the Queen was dead. Otherwise terrible things happen. And of course the swans, as we know, belong to the Queen. Marx described Milton as a silkworm, producing his work like silk outside of the marketplace. O sad Protestants, who will tell the bees that the Queen is dead before they atomise in berserk grammar? The swans, meanwhile, are sailing towards Richmond, none the wiser, minting coins of white bread to plug the intestines that don't belong to them. Swans are nature's franking machines, and they're never trialled for insurrection. The Queen impersonator has given up, the way a shadow disappears in the midday sun. The new king has been working for years to reduce his demands on the public purse, not thinking that he could do this in a second through becoming, like Milton, a poet. I'm going to read two more poems. One is for a friend who passed away at the end of last week, the brilliant poet, Walker, Yeatsian and Blakeian scholar, visionary Niall McDevitt. And I was talking to the poet Sarah Crew about Niall, and a song came on the radio called The Rambling Boy of Pleasure, and it just seemed to be about Niall, one of the great Irish London poets. And I looked into this anonymous song that turns out had influenced W.B. Yeats when he wrote Down in the Sally Gardens. So there was this line through the song, through Yeats, all the way to Niall. So I wanted to write this poem for Niall, and it begins with a short quote from the Yeats poem. She passed the Sally Gardens with little snow white feet, and the Sally Gardens are where willow trees grow. The rambling boy of pleasure takes the night bus when the poets take the books, knows a vision is more than sight, hears music in a crow, gravitates where there is no gravity, because to have no money is to levitate. What else is London for but levitation? To gravitate to the place speared by time, a mad whale chasing a wet man. Theodore Roethke said every bat has a human face, but he hadn't visited one Canada Tower where every human has the face of a bat. They never touch flesh because their heart's sonar is a fire bell. So that's the bats. But what about the elves, the golems, the banshees, the cyclops and Baelor? London is a swamp for the mythic, and out of it rises the rambling boy of pleasure, imbibing true songs behind the vellum of news, wearing their suits of blandest starch. Remember that night, rambling boy, you liquidated the ancient umbilical, his ears of tin and Mephistopheles' grin. They were days our energies grew inside the shipping news, news from nowhere and Hausman's. Nothing was subsidised, so much materialised. This city darkens. I see you walking next century, future exile, passing Blake on the Strand. Make St James's our Sally Gardens. That's for Niall. And I'm going to finish with one just to come all the way back to communication. Almost couldn't say communication, which fits really well. And not many of you know, as well as being a brilliant London presence, Steve Fowler's an honorary Scouser. And one day I just know he's going to move back to the city that he loves so much, his true home. And this poem, every line begins and ends with the word like. We say that a lot in Liverpool. And someone said to me in a pub once, write a poem that every line starts with like, and I thought I could ramp that up a bit and start and end every poem with the word like. So this is for Steve. Like drunk or sober, I'm still your father, like a man walks a field, a scarecrow in a field of flax, like your love-worn eyes of fresh blue tatty, like it's your life's work and you've got to believe in it, like all those break-ins at the youth courts, like banks sell loans because new cars make a life, like the accents revved in our throats, like the industrial landscape was an open plug, like all the parked cars were cloned gemstones, like is to like but never like it was, like keep pouring me more champagne, like we moved to the city and tried to fit in, like the moth larvae flocks in the Quaker oats, like the used by day flutters always calling us back, like.